Welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joel Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it is my pleasure every week to get to visit with some of our alumni, to talk to them about what they're doing these days, and to find out how the program helped them get there. Today, we are visiting with Jack Mason. Jack was a 2020 graduate, right, of the University of Central Missouri with a degree in digital media production. And today he is a technical director at News Press Now in St. Joseph, Missouri. Jack, how you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing all right. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. And when I learned, so you started out at KQTV in St. Joe, and now you're at the News Press Now. But you weren't a journalism guy when you were in college. You weren't interested in a career in news. And so what's led you down that path? Because you started in film, I believe.
Yeah, I started in film. So around 2020, I was just looking for work, and honestly, jobs were kind of hard to come by. So I
That
just
was kind
saw
of a
there's
rough year. 2020 was
yeah,
kind of a
yeah,
rough year.
yeah, for everybody. So yeah, I was just looking around, and I saw a master control job down in KQTV, and my dad had recommended it, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden they needed a director, and I was like, oh, well, I learned that at UCM. I can give that a shot, and just kind of lived from there, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and with that live studio element. So yeah.
I always thought that would be something you'd be good at because I remember you were always really hard on yourself. You held yourself to a really high standard, but that meant while you were working on things, because you were always really good at it. And you were always like, I'm not sure if I did that right, and maybe I could have done this one. I thought that this guy's going to be fine because you pushed yourself, you challenged yourself, and you were never satisfied with that's good enough. Let's do it again. And so I was always really impressed with that. And so you moved on from KQTV. You were a director there. Now you're with News Press Now, and you're
Mhm.
as a technical director. You said you were a switchboard operator.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What are you doing for News Press?
So basically, you did the big old director's board. We use the Ross 3 ME, so it's pretty stacked and the type of stuff that you can do graphically on it. But essentially, it's just switching between cameras, getting different graphics up at the right times, and also following like the different video playback systems that we have and ensuring that like each package plays out properly, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just kind of overall just directing. I do a little bit of audio configuration there too. I'm pretty much doing it all. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Well, and that was one of the things when you graduated that I was really pleased with, really impressed by, was you're at KQTV, you were directing, and you emailed me and said, "Hey, I've got some tips for your students." And that's really important to us as faculty members because, I've been out of the field for 18 years. I've been teaching for 18, and I try and stay plugged in, but most of the way I can stay plugged in with what's happening now out in the field is folks like you. And you emailed me and said, share some of these tips. This is the way things are going these days. How has it evolved since you graduated 4 years ago? How has the media evolved? And how did your preparation at UCM help you make those changes?
Um, I'm not sure if it like truly evolved like too much from my time at KQ2 to News Press. I think the main thing it's just understanding that like different looks or what's the best way to put it? Whenever like corporate would come in, they'll have one look that they would like assign and be like, all right, this is what we're doing now, and then they'll leave, and then they'll come back and it's like, all right, well, this is fresh. So like I don't know if there's like an appropriate way of saying that it's evolved from. I don't know. I don't really know how to properly answer that question. I'm sorry, Joe, but it's just constantly changing probably once a month. So I mean, it's evolving in a way of just like how things look visually in shows. Certain things like okay, like we saw this tri-box look. Can we get that? Okay, now we want a quad box, and like what can we do? Just always up the ante. But I can't really think of like an, an example off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that.
But I think what you're saying is what you've learned and the way it's evolved is there's constantly that push to make it look different, to make it look fresh.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so maybe what you learned in college was how to adapt, how to be flexible, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, because I mean, we think about when I was your age, you had multiple people in a control room because you had to have somebody directing, somebody being the technical director and hitting all the buttons to switch the cameras, which is what your main function is. Somebody doing the audio, somebody rolling in video, somebody bringing in stills and graphics. And now
Mhm.
that can be done by one person, can it not?
Yeah, that's actually that's the best example actually, is because now I am the graphics operator. I'm the video operator as well. I also do the audio, and I'm also technical directing. And while I was at KQ2, you would have for sports, for example, we'd have the director and the technical director. I did both, so I would like stand by camera two. All right, camera two, pan to the left, all that as I'm technical directing. So I guess that's one thing that has evolved is just like constantly doing multitasking is the main thing, and just doing multiple tasks at once.
So, what did you do here while you're at UCM in terms of classes, in terms of activities that really helped prepare you for the role you're in today?
Definitely the sports broadcasting class. I feel like if I learned anything the most on like how the industry would operate, it was that and oh, what was it? It was like just live studio. Live studio was also extremely helpful. But I feel like nothing gets you more prepared than the sports broadcasting side, just because there's so many different things that I was able to get my hands on and try. And as soon as I got behind that director's board, I was like, yeah, this is for me. I just knew it immediately. I was like, I fell in love with it. Like, this is awesome.
Well, that kind of takes care of my next question because I was going to ask, what were some of your favorite classes?
Yeah, yeah, definitely the sports broadcasting. I cannot recommend it enough. It was the most fun I had at UCM by far. I mean, it just getting together every, game and setting everything up, and just the atmosphere that you can put yourself in. It just nothing beats it. It is by far the most fun class you can take.
So are you looking at this? This is going to be long term for you? Or are you thinking, a lot of people I know, a lot of our students have gone to St. Joseph, have gone to Cape Girardeau, have gone to some smaller markets and built their skills and then looked to move on to a larger market. Is that something you're looking at down the road, or are you really liking where you are right now? I
Um,
love St. Joseph. I've always been a St.
yeah.
Joseph fan, saying so I could be like, I can live here.
hmm I think what St. Joe and smaller markets have to offer is there's a lot that you can learn from those markets. And I really enjoy working with people coming fresh off the boat from college and coming into like news press and be like, hey, this is how we operate. So I feel like with that, I kind of take on a role as a teacher in that way and just kind of showing people the ropes. So that's what I really enjoy about working in a smaller market. But yeah, I do have plans on maybe going down to Kansas City or St. Louis at some point. But something about the smaller markets is just like there's so much. What am I trying to say? It's way more hands on because like with higher markets, a lot of it's automated, directing. And I really like being kind of in the thick of it and being able to manually punch a show and have full control of everything. But yeah, eventually I'll probably get down to doing something with KC.
Yeah, that's one of those things you have to think about is do I want to have my hands in everything? Because I'm kind of like you. I would like to be able to punch the buttons and be a part of this and be a part of and have my hands in everything versus going to that bigger market and specializing. But it takes all kinds. We're going to have news in St. Joseph. We're going to have news in Kansas City. Going to have news in Chicago. Whatever fits. And that's the nice thing about this field
Mhm.
is there's something for everybody. So all right, two final questions, and these are the last two I'm asking all of my guests. And the idea behind this podcast is to help inspire and help encourage our current students and prospective students. So, from Jack Mason, a graduate, he's in the field, he's doing it. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a current UCM student? And what is something you would tell to a student who's thinking about coming to UCM to study digital media production?
One bit of advice for a current UCM student, I would say, is just to never lose the passion in the work that you do. Because I'm not gonna lie, there are days where you'll come in, the hours are hard, but I always fall in love with what I'm doing every single day, and that's what keeps me going and just keeps me inspired to continue to do this type of work. So definitely just be very passionate in what you do and do everything um, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Do it with pride and make sure you're doing the best show that you can every day. I mean, just make the most polished thing that you can do. And yeah. And for
Excellent.
anyone coming into digital media, I just highly recommend just trying to get your hands on everything, learn everything you can. Check out the equipment in your free time, make short films with people, and just get the full experience that you can with digital media production. Because that's one thing looking back on, I was like, man, I wish I would have checked the cameras out more. I wish I would have messed with the lighting more. And I think about it all the time is like, there's so much that this school has to offer in terms of equipment that I honestly think you couldn't get anywhere else.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you being on today. Those are some great words of wisdom. You're doing important work. I'm an old news guy. You know, that's important in a democracy is getting our people informed, getting them engaged, getting them entertained. So thank you for what you're doing. Keep it up. Keep up the good work, and we're really proud of you.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
And to all of you who tuned in today, thank you for listening. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. This is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.